what is diffusion? More so, what is cognitive diffusion? Cognitive diffusion is a term used in psychology and cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, to describe a technique that is developed to help individuals and detach identify and detach from unhelpful thoughts, those ruminating thoughts that keep on going over and over in your head and you can't fall asleep, unhelpful beliefs, the belief, we're going to cover it a little later, and definitely a lot of judgments. A bit way too much judging is going on, if you ask me. So cognitive diffusion also involves learning to observe, keyword observe, observe, not judge, and experience thoughts and emotions as events rather than an accurate representation of reality. Observe your thoughts and emotions. We don't always have to react to every emotion we have, and we don't have to speak every thought we have, do we? Well, I hope not. I certainly hope not. Now, the aim of cognitive diffusion is to create distance between you and your thoughts, allowing you to see your thoughts and merely as a production of your mind rather than an absolute truth of reality. So truth is a big word, but let's remember that truth is relative. So by you observing your thoughts and then deciding, is this thought beneficial and resourceful to you, then it's gonna create your truth, or at least follow the relativity of that truth. What a concept. Yeah. This technique, cognitive diffusion, is very helpful for people that are struggling with conditions like ruminating thoughts, anxiety, depression, and chronic stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, overwhelm, technological overwhelm. Yeah, I have lots of technological overwhelm. Somehow I manage it, but I get lucky. Yeah? And so many other forms of distress by reducing the impact of negative thoughts. And the impact the negative thoughts has on your emotional state. Because your negative thoughts are going to affect your beliefs and are going to create an emotional state. So what state are you in? Not just in the United States, what state are you in? Or what emotional state are you in? What frame of mind are you in? What feelfulness state of being are you in? All right. So cognitive diffusion. There are several techniques used in cognitive diffusion, including mindfulness exercises, metaphors, and language-based methods. Language as a neural language, not just whatever language. Yeah? Some example of these methods include observing your thoughts without judgments. I'm going to say this a few times throughout this. Observing your thoughts without judgment. Observing your thoughts. Because observation doesn't happen all just with eyes open. Well, you can have your eyes open and observe your thoughts, and hopefully you do have your eyes open and observe your thoughts, because otherwise you might fall asleep. Most people, when they close their eyes, they fall asleep. So you want to be aware and observe your thoughts, because this is going to bring you of resources and a lot of clarity. It's going to take you to achieve the outcome you want to achieve. What is the outcome you want to achieve? Win the lottery? Well, it's going to bring you clarity into what you need to do to win the lottery. Another very good exercise with cognitive diffusion is when you observe your thoughts without judgment. Also, try not labeling them. Oh, I have a thought, or this is a thought, this is a negative thought, it's about this is the kind of thought, yeah. But let them just be there as images. Sometimes a lot of thoughts come in images, or they come in sensations. Sometimes they come with a pressure, like a lot of people that need to express their thoughts right away and oftentimes loudly. That comes as a sensation of pressure in your body. So if you give it some time to observe, you will notice this. So allow them to be there as something like clouds in the sky, that you know that the clouds are going to go away and then the sun will rise again tomorrow. Well, tomorrow after tomorrow, right? Because the sun is always there. It's just that the clouds are there blocking the sun from your view. The sun is not going anywhere. Your thoughts are, right? So there are several sentences, phrases you can use to engage in cognitive diffusion. But we are going to cover that just in a little bit, and we're going to have Randy come in. Randy?
I had to find my mute button. Cognitive diffusion is a type of skill taught during hypnosis. The word diffusion means diffuse, which means to spread out and break into thousands of little parts, or break into different parts. And a sprinkler, when a person is watering their grass, they're diffusing the water over the grass, making it into different parts, so it breaks it down. And so it's breaking down, and cognitive is the psychological word psychologists, therapists use. It simply means think. Cognitive is thinking. So thinking, breaking down thinking thoughts. And the way that works is, a good hypnotist will teach you, person, is that it will break down those thoughts so that you can look at them, like Parma was saying earlier, look at them objectively, and specifically look and determine if they're realistic, if they're the truth, if they fit, and if there's a rational belief to it. An example that we all have, even me, is things should be a certain way. Let's see if I can think of one. I should be calm, cool, and collected when I'm doing hypnotherapy. I should know exactly what to say at the right time, because I've been trained for so long. I've done so many practices. I should know how to help, how to respond to somebody, right? Well, if I break that down, if I diffuse that thought, I break that thought down to, I should blank. And there's a neuropsychologist named Albert Ellis. He's gone, but he wrote probably 30 books. They all had the same theoretical basis, and he called using the word shoulding on themselves. People tend to should on themselves. In other words, is that true that I should know something? How do I know that's true? Well, one of the ways is logical. Looking at it from an objective viewpoint, is that statement true? I should know what to do in a hypnosis session. Is that statement true? Well, if I say yes, what's the proof to it? Where is there written somewhere that after X amount of hours of training, a person should know everything to say in their skills? It doesn't exist because it's not true. The great hypnotists are always learning. Carmen and I, being the great hypnotists we are, we went to a training thing. When was that?
Just
last week.
recent. Yeah.
Last Saturday.
Mhm.
And so therapists, good hypnotists, a good therapists, good professionals are always getting trained. So there's nothing that says, so when I diffuse that statement, that thought, that cognitive thought that's knocking around in my head consciously, if I break it down and diffuse it, that means that I look at it objectively and I break it down and there's no truth to that statement. Well, I believe it anyway. Well, then I believe that the earth is flat. There's just no truth to it. And I'm basing my feelings on a statement that's not true. I'm basing my feelings of feeling inadequate on a statement that has no basis in reality. And that's called confronting the cognitive process through the cognitive diffusion. And it takes some practice. It takes some practice learning how to find those. But there were 5 words that always are dysfunctional words if somebody is thinking. So if you're doing a cognitive diffusion on yourself, it should, let me see if I can remember. Should, must, have to, ought to. Should, must, have to, ought to. And there's one other one. So there's 5, but I'm remembering the 4. Anytime that a statement has those thoughts, should, must, have to, ought to, something, I have to come up with it. Then if you diffuse a negative thought, it's going to probably have one of those words: should, must, ought to, have to. Anyway, so that's kind of the basis for what doing cognitive diffusion is, in my opinion. Pardon?
Very good, very good. Now, when the goal of the cognitive diffusion, I mean, think of unplugging something. You want to not diffuse, but diffuse. You want to make it. No, I don't want to use those words. Okay, so the goal of cognitive diffusion is to develop your greater sense of awareness and to help you begin to control, so to speak, your thoughts and emotions. Now, I don't particularly like the word control, but manage your thoughts and manage your emotions. It's a much, much better word. Because when you do this, this is going to take you to a greater emotional balance and to a much more increased well-being. So why would you not want to increase your well-being? Because the moment you increase your well-being, you're going to increase your emotional intelligence automatically. And when you go about managing your thoughts and managing your emotions, that is going to catapult you into elevating your emotional intelligence. And nowadays, emotional intelligence is a requirement. So many people are not getting along. There is a lot of stress. Things are moving so fast. There is so much to do, and it is overwhelming. And if you're a parent and you have to take care of kids, take them to school, bring them home, have them do homework, feed them, bathe them, put them to sleep, and all, it's exhausting, right? But only by increasing your emotional intelligence repertoire is going to help you cognitively diffuse. So, emotional intelligence is a term that's being thrown out a lot lately, and let me tell you, it's a necessity, and it is a necessity for your peace of mind. If you cannot fall asleep at night, you go to sleep, you put your head on a pillow, and you cannot fall asleep at night, some sort of emotional intelligence techniques are going to help you. And a lot of the emotional intelligence techniques will include cognitive behavior techniques. One of them, which we're talking about tonight, is cognitive diffusion. And another very important aspect of this cognitive diffusion is it helps you right away elevate your confidence and your self-esteem. When we are stressed and overwhelmed, our confidence goes down, our self-esteem goes down because we think we're not capable. So a very good technique for you to apply the cognitive diffusion with is to say to yourself, I am capable and I have the resources to handle this situation well. I don't particularly like the word cope because cope, it somehow it means you have to put up with in my mind. But maybe that's not what cope means to you. If the word cope resonates well with you, then use the word cope. But I am capable and I have what it takes to handle this situation. Because you do. If you step away from the anxiety cloud, mind clouding neurotransmitters that are running through your physical body, in the moment that you're overwhelmed and stressed and the sky is going to fall over, because we feel like that often, take a breath, acknowledge your thoughts, acknowledge your emotion, remember to say, I am capable. If nothing else, just say, I am capable. And then some miraculous thought will pop up in your mind and you're going to know what to do. Now, this is a big deal. Knowing what to say, what to do in the moments that you're very, very stressed. Because we are stressed, but we are not in life being in danger type of a stress. We are overwhelmed with the amount of things we have to do, with the amount of, no, I'm not going there. Okay, I'll you don't want me to go there. Okay, Randy?
One of the things that I heard last week was a nice way to think about it. Instead of thinking that we have bad or negative thoughts in our head, or we have things or bad thoughts, another way to redefine them is to say that they're non-resourceful thoughts, non-resourceful, ones that move us forward may move us backward but keep us stuck. Non-resourceful thoughts. I really like that reframe. I really like that redefinition of it. I had never heard that before, so I really thought that was nice. And one of the non-resourceful, one of the reasons that's labeled that is because we tend to think, we being everyone, tend to think that our thoughts are real. Our thoughts are reality. And that's not always true, especially when it comes to negative feelings, non-resourceful feelings. If you or I have a non-resourceful feeling, such as I'm angry, lots of anger towards everything, or a lot of anger pent up in, or people say I'm always angry. I'm not that angry, but people always say it. Those kind of thoughts, those kind of non-resourceful feelings and thoughts, there's a feeling like that. It's almost 99%, if not 100, is connected to a non-resourceful thought. An unpleasant feeling that a person's having is almost always, and I would say always, connected to a non-resourceful thought. Another way to call a non-resourceful thought, another word for it, is an irrational thought. A thought that we believe is true, that there's no evidence for it. And those are the shoulds, must, have to, ought to, and whatever that other one is. I have to be perfect. People have to listen to me. My spouse, I must have happiness at home for me to be happy. I must have enough money financially to be happy. I must have respect of others. All those thoughts are non-resourceful because they're going to cause problems, because not everyone's going to respect us. Not everyone's going to act the way we think they should. Most people don't. I love them. Not everyone is going to help do what we think they should do and talk and say the way they should. So, just for the purpose of this talk, one doesn't have to go through psychotherapy or hypnotherapy to find out what kind of problems, what kind of non-resourceful thoughts I have, to do like Karma was saying. You can tell yourself thoughts that contradict any that are lingering in there. My mistakes are learning opportunities. Is my mistake a failure? Well, it could be. Where's the big book on failures that I need to look that up? Where's the giant book at the library that says this is a failure?
Life.
Well,
that's life.
It's life. I mean, who doesn't fail in life? You know, some of the great geniuses of the world have failed constantly. Thomas Edison had like 150 failures before he invented the light bulb or something. Anyway, so yeah, it's tell yourself those kind of and hypnotists call these suggestions or affirmations, but they're basically the same thing. I accept myself for who I am. The teacher that we had last week, Richard Nongard, is a well-known hypnotist. His favorite is, in every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And he tells himself that all the time. And one of the ways he got better and better in the last 6 months, he lost like 60 pounds. It was remarkable. He had a horrible fear of flying. He could not get on an airplane. It was debilitating. He now flies probably 1 million miles a year or something. He flies constantly. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. He tells himself that, and he's living proof that it works. So.
Yes, that is indeed true. Our thoughts create our reality. So this is what someone's reality might look like. That is a lot going on into someone's reality. See all of these layers. We have beliefs. I don't know if you can see my mouse happening in the screen. We have beliefs, we have values, habits, routines, procedural memory, expectations, attitudes. How many attitudes do we have? There's a lot of attitudes, yeah. Sorting, decisions, language as a communication, and all of this create what's called an autopilot and also create our meta programs. And they're all influenced by the big filters, big three major filters: generalization, distortion, deletion, because we filter everything that's happening, every information, every event we filter, because we need to filter, but it is advisable through ratify some of the filter and to begin to filter that which is not resourceful, and to allow that which is resourceful to pass through the filter so you can receive it, and so that can create your internal representation of reality, because your reality is not the same as somebody else's reality. And we're not talking that we're looking at some physical object and then we're not even looking at physical object. People are not going to agree whether the object is the way it should be. So there's a difference in reality, size and all that, and colors. People cannot, men and women, they're not gonna agree with colors over colors. Okay, but that was funny with the thing about colors. But all of this internal representation of reality is going to affect your behavior, and your behavior affects your results. And this in turn is going to affect your thoughts and your feelings and your experience of life. So how do you wish to experience yourself? Not what do you wish to experience in life, how do you wish to experience yourself? Send me a message on that, yeah? And in turn, all of this affects your existential dimension. And we're gonna need lots of podcasts on that, just existential dimension, which in turn, all of this affect your filtering, your generalizing, distortion, deletion, your meta program, autopilots, all the way down to the values and beliefs, and creates your reality, right? So with the help of a cognitive diffusion, another way to help yourself with that, in addition of saying I am capable, because you are capable. Don't compare yourself to others, because sometimes okay, you're gonna have difficulties, but here's the number two. This is a challenge. So it is just a challenge. It is not a mountain that fell over you, that you cannot move that mountain away from you. So even if a mountain falls over you, who knows? You, with the right thinking, you might be able to move it. The power of the will is tremendous. It's tremendous, and maybe we can make a podcast out of that. The willpower. But also, like Randy said earlier, don't worry about mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Well, don't make mistakes intentionally, and don't go about hurting people, and don't be violent, and don't criticize people, and don't put them down, and don't think that they're not good enough because could have, should have, you, because you think they should be differently, therefore they're not good enough. Like right now, maybe me and Randy should talk about something other than what we're talking about when we talk about cognitive diffusion. Yeah? So don't do that. Don't do that with other people, because that's going to come back to bite you somewhere. Yeah? So I am capable, I am capable. This is just a challenge. And you want to be challenged. Because if you're not challenged, then you're going to be bored. And if you're bored, then you're going to do all kinds of crazy things, like even engaging in getting a mass destruction weapon and go to war against innocents. So you don't want to be bored. So come listen to our podcast, and you're not going to be bored. Right? I'm going to let Randy take over now. Randy?
There are some things that generally speaking, as a society, and as a culture, and as a world, that we all agree shouldn't happen. Innocent people shouldn't be killed. Personally, I don't think anybody should be killed in the war, but I'm from the 60s, so I'm a peacenik. But peacenik is an old word. Probably nobody knows what it means anyway. And I think as a society, we agree people shouldn't rob banks. People shouldn't speed so fast that they endanger others. We all agree that those are things. Well, is there a book? Well, there are law books that say that, yeah. But it's generally accepted in society. Certain things should happen and should not happen. And if somebody deceives somebody to the tune of billions of dollars, like Bernie Madoff did, then they should face a consequence. And those kind of shoulds are accepted because they're generally accepted in society. How do we know that? Well, we have laws. There are books to look at. If somebody says, well, prove to me that you shouldn't steal. Well, we have laws that are agreed upon by many, many, many people that say that. It's the ones that, well, my life should be easy. People should be more respectful to. How many lives have been lost because of that one unresourceful fault? People should respect me. And if they don't, they're going to pay for it. How many lives today have been lost? Lives. Not to mention the people that are permanently crippled and all that stuff. Because of that dysfunctional thing. Well, how do I know it's an unresourceful fault? Because there's no proof to it. Who says that we should always be respected? There's a book on law that says we shouldn't speed, but is there a book that says, well, once you reach the age of X, or once you finished high school, or whatever, then you should be respected by people? No, it doesn't. There's nothing like it. There's no proof for that. So if we think it, even unconsciously, we're going to be miserable a lot of things, because the world is full of disrespectful people. Constantly. It takes about 10 minutes on the internet to see a video of somebody going berserk because their french fries broke. And tearing up a restaurant, hurting somebody maybe, getting in trouble with the law, ruining it. And that's not when you go down and the judge fusses at you, you gotta go to law, you gotta spend time in jail, you need a job. All that stuff because of an unresourceful fault. So the takeaway from that is, what are the thoughts that I have? You start tonight with what are the shoulds that I think? Because they come up automatic. And instead of thinking that, think the opposite. Instead of thinking, I should be respected, he should respect, she should respect, think, I'd like for them to do it. Life would be so much easier. I would be so much more comfortable if I got that respect. I'd feel better, but I can tolerate it if I don't. What Karma was saying earlier, I can tolerate and accept things that are not going my way or going the opposite. I can be more tolerant. I can trust myself to be more tolerant. Instead of, they should be doing this and this and this. I can live with that. So that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yes, and did you just notice how comfortable you were feeling when you were saying those positive things? There was no pressure in your body. There is no constriction. There is no tension in your body when you say I can and I am and everything in positive affirmation. Like another one would be, I don't need to be perfect. Well, of course you don't need to be perfect. What is perfect? There is perfection when it comes to things, to objects, yeah, because somebody decided that that's perfect. But look at nature. Nature is perfect, and how perfect is nature? There's a lot of perfection in its capriciousness, right? Um, so for a lot of people, a lot of you, it's good to remind yourself that you are doing your best and that is enough. Well, for a bunch of other people, you probably need to do a little more. We have relationships. We have relationship, and it's not a funny matter. It's not a funny matter. We have relationship when one seem to be doing more than the other. Well, then communication needs to happen, right? So communication needs to happen, and but also in that example, you could use number 5. I trust in my ability to find a solution when I'm challenged. So right there, most of the clients I have, they come to me because they have relationships difficulties. Well, the hardest thing to do in life is relationships. That's the hardest thing to do. So when you say to yourself, I trust in my ability to find a solution when I'm challenged, something some resourceful thought will pop into your head, and then you will find a solution. Or maybe you will find at the beginning of the solution that's going to take you to the next step, that's going to take you to the next step, that's going to solve the issue. So, diffuse those ugly thoughts. I like to call them ugly. I don't think anybody likes ugly thoughts, right? And if they like ugly thoughts, they're not going to listen to me right now. So, and another good one is to say, it's okay if things don't always go according to plan. We need to plan ahead because we need to be organized. But to be so rigid about that plan is going to cause you overwhelm. And there ought to be some flexibility in your capacity to adapt to whatever life throws your way. Well, hopefully, life will throw your way only good things and well-being. But no, you don't want a boring life. You just gonna when you go on vacation, don't you just can't wait to come back home to the struggles and the stress and all the technologies and figure out which buttons to click when? You can only be in vacation for so long without doing nothing. Yeah, because you need that intellectual stimulation. You need a little bit of stress. The good stress. You need a little bit of good stress, like figuring out what to click on, make technology happen. That's probably good stress. If it doesn't happen every minute you're on a computer, right? So I'm using technology as an example, but there is so many other examples then we can use that we don't have to word it right now. But it's okay if things don't always go according to plan, because not all plans are going to break. And the truth of the matter is that we don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes. We don't know. We go about planning it, and we go about doing life, and we would like to know that it's going to happen as we hope that it would happen, But when it doesn't, it's okay. Especially in this fast moving life. Everything is fast, 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 fast. So it's okay if things don't always go according to plan. Yeah? Because remember that we have beliefs, we have values, we have autopilots, we have procedural memory, and even this procedural memories, you can develop a new procedural memory. And what's procedural memory? Procedural memory is that which has you do things automatically without you having to sit and study to memorize something that you know how to walk, you know how to talk, you know how to write, you know how to turn on the computer, how to scroll to social media. So, yeah, individual reality is different from person to person, and I hope, and my goal is to guide you towards ways and resources that you can incorporate in your ways to enhance the quality of your reality. I don't know about quantity, because I think quantity, we have lots of quantity lately, but you can enhance the quality of your reality and increase your well-being. Yeah, Randy?
I remember when I was doing some therapy training, it was by a therapist named Chloe McDonough, who still is living, of course, and works with Tony Robbins. But she would allow, when she was teaching, she would have classes that would observe her supervising a therapy session live. We would sit behind a one-way mirror. And of course, clients knew all this. They all knew that we were there, but they couldn't see us. In one of the sessions, it was very interesting because one of the sessions I saw a client in an impossible situation and was overwhelmed with her non-resourceful thinking. And there was just no solution. The problem was this was in Washington, D.C., and in Washington, there are a lot of ambassadors from other countries. And as most of us know, those ambassadors from other countries are, what's the word, not even mean, but they're exempt from United States laws. They are not, their residence, their embassy is considered a part of their country. So that the United States police in Washington, D.C. cannot go into somebody's house because they have diplomatic immunity. That's what it's called. They can do whatever they want as diplomats and not be arrested because they technically are in their country. That's a crazy law, in my opinion, but it's there. And so this woman was married to an ambassador. And guess what the problem was? He was very abusive. Not to the point of, endangering her life, but he would slap her. He was from a culture that believed very much that women were inferior. And I don't mean to downplay his culture. I think I think there's people from that culture, all of them didn't do that. I think he just uses their excuse. But they did believe women should be subservient and should be a certain way, he thought. That was how he interpreted his cultural rules and religions. So when she did something that was more or less Western, or wore something Western, he would become verbally very aggressive, very demeaning, very aggressive, very put her down quite a bit. And she was, and not ever, as I recall, I don't recall him being physical with it actually. I just remember there was a lot of verbal abuse and verbal put downs. So she was miserable. But nothing could be done because he was a diplomat. He could do what he wanted to do because technically he was in his country. even though he lived here. But nothing could be done because he was a diplomat. He could do what he wanted. What's the solution? What's the, what would I do in that situation? What would I tell that poor woman who's so miserable? Her unresourceful thinking is, I'm stuck, I'm miserable, I can't leave my husband because that's against my cultural beliefs, in my religion. I have to stay with him. I'm in another world, another country. I'm stuck. I have no choices. I'm not capable of making any other decision. I don't have a solution, and I didn't either. So Chloe is a genius. Her statement to the therapist to tell the woman was this, and it changed my perspective on things. I thought it was the most brilliant thing I've ever heard. One of them, and it was just perfect Chloe Madonna's statement. That statement was this: tell her there's more to life than a happy marriage. There's more to life than a happy marriage. She diffused that thought of being stuck and changed the perspective that I have to have a happy marriage. Remember the words have to, must, ought to, should. I think need is the last one. I have to have a happy marriage. My husband has to stop abusing me. That she diffused all that and gave her a whole different viewpoint and a different perspective and changed her reality. And then the therapy was to help the woman, this ambassador's wife, find a meaning for her life away from being happy in her marriage. And I just thought it was brilliant. I thought it was, I wouldn't have thought of that. So I like that story. I like that idea of how to think outside of your situation, how to diffuse the thoughts, and how to come up with a new reality.
Yes, and it's interesting that we say come up with a new reality, because what is real? I mean, how long ago was the world flat? The world as in the planet, and is our planet making up the world? And how long ago was it that we thought that the sun circles around us and not us around the sun? And a lot of things. And when it comes to not proving reality, but even Einstein proved through his theory of relativity, which is that which should have gotten him the Nobel Prize, he proved that everything is relative, even physical reality. I mean, he proved his theory of relativity with the planets and the star and the sun and the moon and things you cannot touch, but you know they're there and they exist. So if that is relative, what about your thoughts and what about your emotions? Right? So, and we're not gonna go, right now we're not doing psychiatry where there are a good enough number of people that their thoughts and emotions and their perception of reality is skewed. Right now we're addressing normal beings, right? So the reality which is real to you might not be real to another. That which is true to you might not be true to another, right? So beliefs and values have the highest weight in creating your reality. So here are a few questions to ask yourself. Is this belief realistic given your current circumstances? Yeah. Whatever you believe to be true or to exist, is it realistic in that particular moment when, usually when something is not going according to plan or is not going right? So is that belief serving you, like Randy mentioned earlier? Yeah. And also, number two, are there any facts that contradict my belief? Like the world, Mother Earth is not flat. Mother Earth is very round. The planet we live on, it's very round and it's not flat, and you're not going to get to the end of the world and fall down. Yeah? And number three, what evidence do you have that supports your belief? Do you believe something because that's how you grew up with that belief, or because religion told you so, or because the parents and the culture? And why do you believe your beliefs? And which beliefs do you believe to be true, and which beliefs can you reassess and say, maybe, just maybe, this beliefs and that belief you can possibly reassess. Religion would be the easiest one to reassess rapidly, and that's probably one that you're going to be more resistant towards reassessing. And you don't have to, but it's just something to notice, that it is factual, that religion is so wide. There's so many different kinds of religions, and there's a lot of contradictions in religions as to which is true, and that has been since eons and eons, and it will continue to be since eon and eons. And are all of your religious beliefs, not some of them, maybe some of your religious beliefs, are they serving you, or are they causing you stress? Are they causing you pain? And one of the most interesting things, and also the most fascinating things, I have friends that have married into a different religion. They have made an agreement that through their marriage, friendship, their togetherness, they were never, ever to talk about religion. They made an agreement. They don't talk about religion. They've been married for over 50 some years. Happily married. They still like each other. Yeah, no talk about religion. So beliefs have a very, very strong pull on your reality, because it affects everything. If you look in a picture, it affects everything that happens, the way it happens, the way you perceive it, the way it affects you, the way you affect all of the chain reactions that construct your internal representation of reality. Beliefs. So then after you ask yourself, what evidence do you have to support that belief? Or because somebody said so, and somebody is well known, or is very famous, or is a millionaire. Well, is that the purpose in life, to be a millionaire? Is that that's it? That's not it for a lot of people. It's it for just a few people, which in turn they put a certain amount of pressure on you to make you feel the same way, that becoming a millionaire is it. That's the end goal. Well, yeah, we should chase money, and we should be cognizant and work into having money and earn income and have the money make more money. Yeah, that because we need to pay bills. Yeah, and maybe if we have a little more money, maybe we can buy some solar panels. and then we'll spend less on electricity. Yeah? But then when we go to values, there's always going to be something or someone that are going to address your values directly or indirectly. So usually you have people that value you. There's going to be a person or two or three that value you. Even if you don't get along with them right now, they still value you, right? So then you can ask yourself, what would this person tell you about this particular belief, right? And it's not about, it's about cognitive diffusion. Yeah, cognitive diffusion, helping you become aware of your thoughts that are not resourceful, thoughts that bring you a lot of anxiety and turmoil, this kind of thoughts. Do you want to have this kind of thoughts, or you think your life would be more joyful without all of this heavy, ugly thoughts? What do you think? Randy, what do you think?
I think those non-resourceful thoughts lead us to having a much more difficult time in life. Life is hard anyway, and having, for a lot of people, for most people, life has challenges. Having non-resourceful thoughts on top of it just adds a cherry to this terrible, ugly dessert, as you call it. Using those ugly words, it's just it's adding fuel to the fire.
Yes, indeed it does. Indeed it does. So, some of the takeaway for tonight is I am capable, and I do have the resources to handle the situation well as it can be. Yes, believe that and see how it makes you feel. Number 2, this is just a challenge. It's not a mountain that fell over you. It's just a challenge. Otherwise, life would be boring. And I don't think you're going to like a boring life. No. You're resting, yeah, but boring life, no. Number 3, my mistakes are learning opportunities and not failures. You learn. We learn best from, that's how we learn best, from mistakes. Like, oops, I made a mistake, don't make that again. Yeah. Number 4, I don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be perfect, but you need to be a good abiding citizen, a good person. Don't hurt others, don't criticize, don't put them down, don't devalue them. Yeah, so other than that, you don't have to be perfect. Yeah? You don't have to look perfect, you don't have to dress perfectly, you just have to treat people with respect. You don't have to admire people, you have to treat people with respect. Yeah? Don't think of them being smaller than you or smaller than someone else, because if you think that someone else is smaller than something else or someone else, then that's a belief you have for yourself, that you are smaller than somebody else. And Carl Jung is not gonna like you having that thought. No. Carl Jung encourages you greatly to never think that you are better than someone else, nor smaller than someone else. You as a person, at some task, at some abilities, yes, which is normal, it's to be expected, yeah. I'm not good at everything. I don't know everything. I'm not perfect, but I have no need to be perfect. I have zero need to be perfect. I divorced that need many years ago. Yeah? And number 5, I trust in my ability to find a solution when you're challenged. So trust in your ability. Yeah? And send us your comments, send us your questions, and we will answer the best that is feasible in a live podcast, or we can just always address it in a private message, and you're always free to contact us, both me and Randy, directly, and be well. Diffuse your ugly thoughts. Yeah?